You can't get in here because I am going to have the wrath. I'm going to have the way. I'm going to raise my voice to be heard in this castle.
Knowing how many failed marriages my families have had, right? Like, it just is divorce is a thing. So I was going to do it early. I was going to do it right. And I was 21 and I had all the things and all the thoughts.
Because you can walk around in slavery and continue to do it if you want. You can continue to fight with your wife. You can continue to fight with your second wife, your third wife, your fourth wife. There's lots of people doing it in culture. But if you want to stop doing those laps in the deserts and you want to stop being in slavery, find a dude who has what you want and learn how on earth he did it.
And that's where God's put me to learn things, to be able to help guys make the revelations that I never freaking made when I should have. I'm trying to lead us. I'm telling us we should go do this. This is what we should do. You don't want to do it. How am I supposed to work with this?
I was like, no, I'm not mad. I'm just making sure you hear me. Hear me.
We're back at it again, gents. We're going to talk about marriage today. Marriage.
Sweet. I'm a pro at this.
Yeah.
Not.
There's going to be a lot to say today, man. There's going to be a lot to say. I'm going to start with this. Somewhere along the line, men, church men, worldly men, doesn't really matter, men have been sold this fake script that when you get married, everything is going to fall into place. And man, how far from the truth is that? Marriage is a mirror, and it just reflects what's really going on inside of you, and sometimes men just want to hide it. They don't want to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it today, guys. We got Mr. Galdi over here is about 20 years in.
Almost 20 years married, yep.
21 years in.
Three failed marriages, all collective, I would say. That's what, there was like 13 years total.
Let's go. You have more experience than us. Exactly.
You've had to try to figure it out with 3 different women.
Exactly. It multiplies somehow. You know? So, all right, cool. So this is going to be fun, guys. Jared, why don't you open us up, Mr. Wisdom?
Oh, man. I love how you say it's a mirror because most men are not willing to see that mirror. And I think that, you know, one of my mentors, Pastor Josh, he says that so many people plan for a wedding, they don't plan for a marriage. And I think the other thing comes back is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so many people are like, they go into this place where they're in love and like, yeah, it's like, I definitely love this person and yada, whatever. And so many people in today's culture, they equate great sex with love. Let's be real. And those things are not the same. And so when you fail to plan, when you don't plan for when the storms are inevitably going to come in marriage, then yeah, it gets rocky. And that's the way I see my life in that mirror is like we did not have a plan for marriage. So guess what? Storms came, fights came, like it was a mess for a long time, you know, and thankfully we fought through it. We looked at each other and we're like, hey, we're unwilling to have this fight with another human so that we have to sort this out together. But that's how I really see it is in this culture, so many people are planning for this big, beautiful wedding. And then a year later, they're like, I get it. I get why people get divorced. This is hard. I thought I loved her and she pisses me off, you know? And it's really, like you said, it's that mirror. It's like, no, you piss you off, bro.
Exactly. It's a total mirror. I got married super young. I was 22, got engaged, 23, married. Luckily, I'd say not luckily, but by the grace of God, I had some good mentorship at that point in my life. I had some good, youth pastors and young adult pastors that really spoke life into me and spoke into, and kind of, we did a lot of premarital counseling, which was amazing because I was so ingrained in the church. I was in ministry, so that was kind of the world we lived in. I was able to get some premarital counseling that was able to confront some of the lies that I was built to believe when I was a young boy, right? You see all these things on movies and, growing up, you see these princes and kings from England getting married, and it's like it's this love after, well, they all probably got divorced at this point, but it's like a fairy tale. And so you believe in the fairy tale until you get punched in the face. What does Mike Tyson say? He says something about
Everybody's got a plan.
Until you get punched in the face, right?
That's right.
So as a young guy, I was like, all right, I know that the term fall in love is completely a lie. Because you don't fall in love. If you fall in love with somebody, you can easily fall out of love, right? So I didn't want to base my marriage on, I fell in love with her. I also didn't want to base my marriage on, she's gorgeous and I'm super attracted to her, without knowing who she really was, right? So we had to work through some of those things. And as a young guy with a couple strong men around me, I'd say I was blessed to be able to do that. But then there's 4 months after you get married, when people aren't really too much in your business, and now you're out there to fend for yourself. And that's probably, for us, that was the hardest point. And so the first couple years of my marriage was rough. It was rough because I was immature. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to figure it out. But again, by the grace of God, I had people to come and step in and kind of help me. But I'll definitely agree with that term, that marriage is a mirror. And if you're not ready to confront yourself before you confront the other person, failure is just around the corner, 100%.
Yeah, I think in this conversation, I'll note that one, Travis talked about how he had 3 failed marriages, and he joked about how he's an expert on the subject. I actually think that he is an expert on this subject. Walking and doing life with him. We've talked, and we will continue to talk on this podcast about how we were sent to break generational curses, and that's a very real thing that Travis had to carry. And so I do want to say that that one, bro, you have some authority in this space, and 2, I'm excited to see how all of the lessons and the planning come together. So why don't you tell us, as you head into this new season, first, what does that mean to you? A lot of people plan for a wedding and they don't plan for a marriage. I know that you're planning for a marriage. So what are some of the best lessons you've learned that you know that you're not going to carry forward? I'd
like to also say that there weren't failed marriages. There were marriages that you probably learned a lot from.
Oh, yeah, no.
So you sit here today and you're like, dang, I know what not to do, right? I know
absolutely.
What to do, right?
Yeah, step 1, first marriage, don't marry a stripper.
You guys got that.
Yeah.
Write some notes down.
For real. So I ran into marriage young, knowing how many failed marriages my families have had, right? It just is divorce is a thing. So I was going to do it early. I was going to do it right. And I was 21 and I had all the things, all the thoughts. But to your question, I get that question a lot. What authority do you think you have speaking on or around marriage as somebody that has had 3 marriages not go well? I'm very quick to say I'm not a marriage counselor or therapist by any means. I do have clients that are married and are couples that I coach, but I very much coach accountability and leadership, and that always is a conversation to the 2 individuals on reflecting where they're leading themselves well, because the relationship's just the output of the 2 inputs, right? So it's if you guys want to fix that, you got to fix each other, because that's going to have the correlation, right?
So it's a mirror on both sides.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and with that, right? So, so like you said, marriage is a mirror, and for men, the truth about it is, they think that marriage breaks them, when in actuality it just reveals what was broken that they brought into it, right? And nobody knows you better than your partner, right? We get to see each other in all the intimate moments, all the strengths, all the weaknesses, our highest, our lowest, and exactly. So we get into this kind of defense posture of what do they say? What are they saying? Because we have to figure out whether we believe it or not, right? And the problem with that, with men, or at least with myself for sure, that I figured out looking in that mirror, is I can't lead a mirror that I've not been willing to look into myself, right? So the truth about it being, I can't lead somebody that sees me better than I see myself, And that's truly what it comes down to, is your wife or your husband is going to see so many blind spots, so many cracks in your armor, so many things that you try to hide from and convince yourself of, that you're going to get offended and disrupted because they're pointing out things that you've refused to look at about yourself. And we can take that as an opportunity to grow, take that as an opportunity of, this person cares and loves about me in spite of these cracks and in spite of these blind spots. And not only they are with me knowing those, they see them, but they're bringing them to me, and this is an opportunity to grow. But most people just throw up the defense, right? And men want to lead women. There's not a single conversation I've ever had with a guy about the whole submission conversation, right, that they didn't agree with. It's like, do you think your woman should submit to you? Oh, absolutely. Okay. Are you followable? There's always questions on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's funny how often I can ask a guy like, all right, you want to lead your wife, she should let you lead. Absolutely. Are you followable?
Yeah, then the conversation stalls out.
It does. It stalls out.
The brain just gets on overload instantly.
Yeah. And something that I had to learn was the whole distribution of weight when it comes to that leadership and following and submission conversation. A lot of times we like to look at it as it's a 1-to-1 ratio, right? This is my partner, this is my better half, or two halves of a coin, and she should get what I get and vice versa. And it's just not. Like, the weight of leadership that comes in your relationship as a man, what you do in your relationship carries weight in pounds, where hers carries ounces. And we want it to be 1-to-1. Right? So, like, for example, if you get into an argument with your wife and you've been super calm and collected for the year of that first relationship, and you just lose it one day because you had a long day at work and get cut off on the road and all the things, because the thing's never about the thing, it's about everything, right? And your threshold of tolerance is now maxed out, and you turn and you call her a C word, right? Well, get ready, because the next 6 months, there's going to be 5 temper tantrums that she throws because you gave her permission and told her this is how we act now, right? She's never seen that from you before, but now you lost it and you name called her something that you didn't mean, but you didn't control at the time. And then what happens is, over those next 6 months, she loses it. She has an argument. She has a fight. And guys want to be like, well, why are you acting this way? Well, you called me a C word.
Well, and sometimes she doesn't even know that that's why she's acting, but in a spiritual sense, you gave her that permission, like you said.
Correct.
You're like, you're leading whether you're default or by design.
Yep.
So if you're leading by default, then you're leading into those things, and then you get a year down the road and you're like, oh, it's the Jezebel spirit.
Yep.
You know, like, she's doing it. You know, this Christian culture, the guys are like, oh, you know, she's not following you. Then I've watched other idiots in that exact same sentence. I've watched other idiots then give the guy permission for divorce because she's acting up.
Yep.
Like, it's silly. It comes back to him.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. And you know, not to, in an effort to let this land and carry the weight that it should, you know, in case there's any confusion, like, if you look and you call your wife a cunt, that's going to carry so much weight and impact on her that you don't understand in the moment. And when it comes out, because more, like you're saying, what you're saying really is more is caught than taught, right? We've talked about that before. She just caught the atmosphere and the energy and what's allowed in this marriage now because you just showed her something different that didn't exist.
Regardless of what you've said in the past.
Absolutely. That's all. Okay, cool. Shifted. Now, what happens is when she's throwing her second tantrum and calls you a jerk or a dick or whatever, then you're like, well, why are you being this way? Well, and she throws back at you, well, you called me a cunt 6 months ago. It's like, yeah, but that was 6 months ago. I haven't done it since, so on and so forth. Again, that carried pounds. And you have to understand, as the man, if you want to be the leader and you want her to submit and you want that hierarchy and you want to be that man, you have to understand, well, she now, what she does carries ounces. Those 5 arguments where she threw a fit and she told people how she felt or whatever was because you set the tone that things are different. Things are allowed. You gave permission, what you did in moderation, she's doing in excess, and it's your fault. You set the tone for that. And it's going to take time to fix it, because you planted a seed and now you're reaping what you sowed. And if you want that fixed, you got to go back up, till the land, plant a new seed, and allow it to change. But no, we want it fixed immediately, because like, well, I haven't done that since. I apologize. I repented. Okay, cool. You did your part. Now go lead. She's going to have to see you lead another 6 months or less or more. Everybody's process is different, but you don't get to sit there and be like, are we still going to bring this up? Why are we still going to bring this up? Because you did it.
And sometimes the learning process takes years even.
Yeah.
For cracks in your foundation, your relationship, because if it goes unresolved so long, it just becomes normal, and then it takes years for it to get back to where it was.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to, right? Whether it takes 6 days, 6 weeks, or 6 months, or 6 years, all comes back to the leadership conversation. Right. If you turn inward and figure out, okay, why did I let that happen? I let my threshold of tolerance be this. I lost it because of this, and that. And I go do the work and explain that, and I get to show her the process I'm going through on where I messed up and I didn't lead well. She gets to be the recipient of that, and she gets to watch you actually make a change. Well, that time gap closes a lot.
Yeah, when you come back to that, when she brings it up again and you don't get defensive about why you're bringing this up, when she brings it up again, or when it rears its ugly head again, when you step into that leadership role, taking full accountability, like you just said, and you say, yeah, I hear you. I love you. We're not there anymore. You don't have to yell at me. I got you.
Yeah.
I got your back. And I know where this is coming from. I'm not going to do that again. You know, and when you step into that place, everything shifts much faster, and it can take years, but that's if you stay in this default mode. Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing you say, Travis, is that everything comes back to leadership.
Yep. Another
thing that I'm hearing you say is that it's like a principle that's built in, that a woman is going to be submissive and follow a man regardless. Like what you're saying is it all comes back to leadership, because a woman naturally submits to the leadership of her man. It's just sometimes that looks like revolt because the leadership sucks.
Mm-hmm. Or it disappears completely. Because what happens in most divorces, I mean, 80% of the guys that come to me are either going through, or just got out of divorce, and it's all the same thing. Women will follow you when you are chasing something greater than yourself, right? So maybe it wasn't God at the time she found you. Maybe it was the business. Maybe it was the money. It was a title. It was status. Women are attracted to a man that's on mission, period. That's good. And that always happens. Woman comes in, she follows a man on mission, and at some point in time, he allows his mission to shift to her.
That's so true.
And what happens is her responses, whether she's happy, whether she's sad, whatever she does impacts the man. And guys get to this point of, if she's not happy, I'm not happy, right? Happy spouse, happy house, which is toxic as all get out. But when her thermometer controls you, what we think happens a lot as men when we're not rooted in following something greater than ourselves, like God, then we start reacting based off her reactions. And what we don't see happening is she realizes he's not grounded. He's not centered. He's not on mission to follow something. He's following how I act. And I don't know how I'm acting or why I'm acting this way. Most women know, like, they're just emotional beings, and they're going to be reactive. They know they're overreacting. They know they're just following their heart and all the things. So when she realizes, wait, hold on, I'm not following you. You're following me. You're following my reactions.
It's so real.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I know that you've done this, Mark. So because this is such a natural thing that he's talking about, I can see that in my relationship. You know, like I said, we're almost married 20 years, been together almost 25 years since right after high school. And I know that there's times where she said to me, she's like, why does my state of being have such an impact on you? You know, 100%. Like she would be like, you know, if she's in a bad mood or whatever, I'm just like walking around like this little lost puppy, like, oh, are we gonna get to the thing that I want to do like ever again? Or, you know, there's seasons of where you're following like a lost puppy. And I love how you put that, dude. I know that's gonna help some men, is that you've made her the mission.
Yep.
You're not following something. You're not after something bigger than yourself. And like we've talked about this, and we'll continue to talk about it, is that if the fastest way to a purposeless life is to make life all about yourself.
Yep.
And if you have a greater mission and you're inviting her into this bigger story, she loves that. My wife loves that.
Yeah.
She knows why I'm alive. She knows she's a part of it, but I'm not chasing her feelings by any means.
That's an epiphany moment. I guarantee you some people went, whoa.
Well,
Because most guys default to following their wife.
yeah.
They're just trying to make her happy.
And
Happy
society
wife,
tells
happy
you
life.
that you should.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So two things. One, men are raised in all types of ways, but at the end of the day, guys are taught how to treat a woman, right? And
Whether good or bad.
correct. And women are taught on what they should expect from men, right? And how they should be treated, right? Men never learn how they should be treated, right? So they get reactive to everything. They can't tell a woman what she should or shouldn't be doing because they don't know how to treat them themselves, right? They don't know what they need, what they want, because they haven't been taught that. The simple part of going back to what we were just talking about is every guy, for the most part, gets this part. If you're not on mission and you're reactive to your woman's reactions, she doesn't feel what?
Secure.
Safe.
Protected,
Safe.
Yeah, so it's the same
Yeah.
conversation, right? But
Yeah.
guys can understand that. Like, well, yeah, if I don't know where we're headed and I am completely reactive based off how she is in the moment,
lack of security.
she doesn't feel safe,
Yeah.
right? And never do I bring that up to a guy and he's like, oh, I'm confused. He's like, oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Cool. So when a woman's not safe, she goes into fight or flight.
Yeah. Protection mode.
Yep. And everybody gets that. So then when I turn back to him and say, all right, so you're not on mission, therefore your wife doesn't feel safe. So she's doing what right now? She's fighting you or she's fleeing you. It's that simple. And instead they want to make it about, well, her friends are doing this and her family's telling her that. And it's like, cool. Why is she listening to her friends and family? Because you're telling me that she never did before. She always listened to what Jared said, right? And then that stopped. And now she's listening to everybody getting in her ear about something.
Because she lost that security. Now she's
Right.
going other places.
So she went back to her family because that's where she was safe before you.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, they want to vilify the family members. They want to vilify the friends instead of realizing, okay, let me look in the mirror. She followed me and left them because she trusted me to lead and she felt safe with me. Now she doesn't feel safe with me. So she's fighting me and fleeing me and listening to people that she felt safe with before.
Yeah.
So instead of getting in this tornado of trying to blame the dad or the mom or the best friend or society this or TikTok that, you just have to realize, okay, I have done something to make her feel unsafe that she is choosing to listen to voices outside of my own. So how do I go back to being followable so she'll listen to my voice? And it all comes down again to like, you have to be built on something greater than yourself. You have to be following something greater than yourself, right? So if you're following God, and she can, that's why so many women want to talk about, I need a godly man. It's not because like I want somebody that I can stand up on status on Sundays at front row and we can look like this just happy couple praising and worshiping. No, she, whether she realizes it or not, she needs to know that you're submitted to an accountability level higher than her.
100%. I mean, to that, what I was just pulling up was everything that you just said led to, I think a lot of guys hear it over and over, especially if you're in Christian circles on like the Word of God is like our playbook, right? And unpacking what it actually says is a big deal. And everything that you just said led my mind to 1 Peter 5:5. And one thing I love is like you didn't get these revelations like on your own. You submitted to actually learning your lessons from these marriages. You submitted to a higher authority in God. You submitted to other men who've actually been there. You've had conversations with men who've walked through these things so that you can gather these revelations from God. Well, 1 Peter 5:5, I love, it says, "In the same way, you who are younger must accept the authority of elders, and all of you dress yourselves in humility as you relate to one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble." And I think about that when men are doing what you just described, when men aren't seeing where they're at, they're somehow, some way making it about themselves, which is every form of pride. And God literally opposes the proud. So I'd like every man, like in my life, I talk about this a lot in different places, and especially in this one. If you decide to be prideful in any given moment and you kind of give up your leadership and you're deciding that you need to be right, you're literally like putting boxing gloves on and getting in the ring with the creator of the universe. Rather than, he said he gives grace to the humble. Grace is a covering. I love how our pastor describes it as the power of God to do things God's way. So if you're humble enough to recognize that, like, okay, I'm not giving her that security, so she's fleeing me. How can I put this calm back in my spirit? How can I chase something bigger than me? What am I supposed to chase? Like, you have to get to the core of what that message is, because you're not going to just like turn from chasing her to chasing something bigger instantly. But once you recognize it, it's time to repent and pay the price to figure out what your bigger thing is and figure out humility in each of those circumstances. Stop yelling back, stop reacting, stop all those things so that you can get back on mission. Because every single time you're fighting back against that, it's like you're not fighting her, you're fighting God.
Yeah. The quickest way to destroy a relationship is to work on the relationship, right? Rather than work on yourselves and work on the individuals involved. The men like to look at the fact of like, well, she made me angry. And she didn't. She just walked close enough to the wound that was already there, right? And she exposes it, and you're not willing to look inward at yourself. The thing that guys don't really get is, and if you understand leadership, and if you understand just the concept, if for somebody to be led, right, like she can feel the difference of a husband that loves her or a husband that needs her. And if you need her, you can't lead her.
Oh, say that again.
If you need her, you can't lead her.
Oof.
And Hollywood can throw out all the tropes and all the things that they want, but every freaking love story out there through Hollywood standards that everybody likes to talk, Notebook, Titanic, whatnot's about cheating anyway. Like, let's just really talk about what their motive is, right? The whole point is we like to sit out there of like, the love story is, I need you. I'm incomplete without you. And we think that's supposed to convey love and affection. No, that's scarcity, and that's like, okay, if you need me, I wouldn't leave myself. That's why I'm here. If you need me, then I can't trust you to lead me, because if my emotions are faltering, then you're going to let the enemy get in this house because you're not paying attention, right? But you can choose to love me, and that is way more. You could buy the roses, you could do all the things, tell her how much you love her and all the things. It means nothing if she knows that you need the validation in return to be who you are. Now, if she knows, you can sit there and be like, babe, you're wrong. I don't see it that way. Or, hey, I see what you're going through. I'm here. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. Let's talk it out, what have you. But I'm not coming from my spot to come sit in yours in agreement because you're emotionally flying off the handle right now. But I'll sit here and I'll be whatever you need me to be. You need me to fix it, or you just need to be heard? And I'm going to stay in my principles, and you can rant for the next hour. It's not going to change what I think we need to do from a leadership standpoint. I'll take in what you have in thought and opinion, and we can discuss that on how maybe we apply it or compromise. But I'm not coming to your side over there because she's the trailer to the truck, right? Like women will stay in that, knowing even if they don't feel comfortable, they know that they feel your confidence in it. They don't need to feel comfortable.
So what she says is, if you need me, you can't lead me. But what she's really saying is, if you love me, you need to lead me.
Yeah.
I need to follow you.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the opposite.
Which means you have to be willing to do it whether she steps in agreement with you or not. She has to, like, I'll end with this so you can speak on your 2 points. One really bad example of leadership that I had in a relationship once upon a time was we were going through it and it was not going well. And I was trying to perform, right? Do all the things that I should be doing from a performance standpoint. I remember being at church and, they would call, give an opportunity for you to come down to the prayer team, right? And who needs prayer? And I, from a performance standpoint, and I thought I was doing it right, was like, hey, we need prayer. Like we're not doing well right now. Things are rocky. Let's go get prayer. And her response was, I don't want to. No, I don't feel comfortable. And what did I do? My immature self at the moment was like, see, I'm trying to lead us. I'm telling us we should go do this. This is what we should do. You don't want to do it. How am I supposed to work with this? Like, you're not willing to join me for prayer? Like, what how? And I would go play victim. I'd be like, man, she won't even come pray with me. How am I supposed to work with this? And in retrospect, leadership would have looked like, okay, completely get it. You don't feel comfortable? No worries. You stay here and stay where you feel comfortable. I'm going to go get prayer for us. And I'm going to do that every Sunday for the next 6 months until some point in time I walk down there, and as I'm getting prayed on, I feel your hand on my shoulder because you chose to follow me at that point, right? That's the whole leadership aspect. Right. Is like, I know we need to go here. This is something that we need. You may not see it, and even if you do, you may not feel comfortable till you see me do it. Mm-hmm. So I have to go do it for you to feel comfortable that this isn't a performance thing. Yeah, you want prayer today, but tonight you'll be yelling at me and be calling me a cunt. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is a lot of men struggle with pride. That's a given, right? So when we get offended, it's just pride. It's just pride, our pride fearing its ugly head up, right? Satan fell due to pride, right? Point I want to ask you, Jared, is do you think that when a man experiences pride or goes through a moment where he gets all riled up, do you think he maybe subconsciously lets go of his right to lead? In other words, when you have pride in your life, do you cancel out that level of leadership? You're not followable at that point, right? And I think about when Satan fell from heaven, right? He rose with a lot of pride. Well, he lost his leadership title, right? He became not a leader at that point, so he was cast down. Does that same thing happen to men? If we get all prideful, do we automatically revoke our title of leadership in our relationship or our marriage or even business or whatever?
I would say a combo of yes, but it's a paradox there. The paradox is that a lot like Travis said, is like you're still the man. God still gave you the authority. It's a principle matter. And so you're going to lead. Now you're just leading into a desert season. You're leading into consequences of stupidity and pride, right? And so yes, you've lost your authority. Like, should she follow you? No. Right. But what Travis said is so true, is that she's going to follow you either way. Whichever and now she's just followed you into this chaotic circle, you know? And look at the same thing. Take the devil. Yeah, he got cast down to earth. If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of spirits and principalities of this world that follow the devil. Sure. The devil is clearly followable because it's not a one-man gig what he's got going on the earth, right? And so it's sort of the same thing. It's like, should you have lost your authority? Yes, but man, God, the way he made us, you're going to get followed whether you like it or not. And I mean, I think of God's principles being the same, and I'll talk about this really fast and not get sidetracked, but you know, it's something in our world that I see very clearly, is that, like, take Abraham. God blessed Abraham to multiply and create all the nations of the earth. All the nations will be created through you, God said. And look at the two different sides of Ishmael and Isaac. He still blessed Ishmael to multiply. Otherwise, we wouldn't have Islam. Sure. You know? And so I'm saying that to say that God's principles are always true, and he made us leaders. And so, yes, should you have that authority revoked? Maybe, but God decided that good and evil are real, and God decided that consequences are very real, and you're going to reap what you sow. So if you're sowing into the chaotic, you're just going to reap a bunch more chaotic, and it's going to take a long time to come back.
Got it. Yeah. My second thought was, like, you had said something earlier about getting that accountability and having somebody speak into your life. What happens with the men that don't have church or spiritual accountability or somebody that is able to pull out the diamonds in the rough? What would you say to those guys who maybe are avoiding church like this? You know, we talk about regularly on this podcast. What action steps could they take?
I mean, for me, it does come down to a submission. Back to that 1 Peter 5:5. Find some people that have the fruit that you want. whether that's church or anywhere. Find a dude
Good marriage,
who has the fruit that you want in marriage and business and life, that has the whatever you want, and actually submit your plan to them. What comes to me is that, like, for a long time, I'm created to be an entrepreneur, and I know this. And when I went off on being an entrepreneur, somehow I thought everybody else was supposed to be an entrepreneur. Everybody, right? Like, this is everybody's calling, when it was my calling. And my wife brought me back, in the middle of that, and she's like, honey, some people are supposed to take your money at 7-Eleven, and they're happy to do it. And I was like, huh. And I really thought about that. Like, Moses leads all the slaves out of Egypt. And they were in the Israelites were in slavery for 400 years. That means like 8 generations of dudes, of families, their whole purpose in the earth was to be slaves. And so what I would say to that guy is, you can walk around in slavery and continue to do it if you want. You can continue to fight with your wife. You can continue to fight with your second wife, your third wife, your fourth wife. There's lots of people doing it in culture. But if you want to stop doing those laps in the deserts and you want to stop being in slavery, find a dude who has what you want and learn how on earth he did it.
That's such a good principle to live by. And, when it comes to God, right? God's not going to change your heart. He's not going to change your mind. He's not going to automatically do it for you. It's going to take work on your part. He'll let you go around the mountain over and over and over until you learn your lesson, right? So submit yourself to somebody who you see there's fruit in, so that you can mimic what they already have. I think that's noteworthy right there. It's noteworthy.
The saying, real quick, and I want to listen to what you have to say on this. Methods are many, principles are few. Methods change, principles never do. And so find somebody that has fruit, because they've figured out the principles that they need to operate by. And that's what we've been talking about. That's what Travis has been talking about. We're getting to the principles that we have to live by, and that's what it's about.
So good.
Yeah. And church is just a gathering of people. So, like, you don't have to sit here and be like, for my marriage to work, it's got to be in this house over here. No, find the gathering of people that have the fruits that you want, like that, like Jared's talking about. And 2 things that I just want to throw out there that will be revelations if you allow them to be. And yeah, I'm not John Smith with a clean driving record over here. I am proudly Earnhardt Jr. over here that knows how to push the limitations of the vehicle, because I've crashed plenty and I've pushed the limitations around the track enough that I'm very confident right now that I'm going to take first place on this next race. So like I will live and breathe through that. And that's where God's put me to learn things, to be able to help guys make the revelations that I never freaking made when I should have. Right. So the 2 points on that would be, when things aren't working right, and I hear it so many times, especially with Christian men. You know what? I think God's just not in this. I think God is giving us an opportunity to separate. He's breaking things, the enemies, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And I like to challenge that with something that once you hear it, you've already heard it. So if you don't want to hear this, turn it off. But God is definitely in it. Let me proffer this to you. If your marriage is falling apart, relationship, you're dating, whatever, if you are going through this process and things are chaotic and you feel like she's not letting you lead and all the things, what if God is in it and he knows that if he doesn't give you a cause for pause right now, and he doesn't orient everything enough for you to get the realization you're doing it wrong, he's doing it because you are making it about her and not about him. And he knows that if he allows you to continue doing what you're doing, which is not following him and how he's doing it, he's about to lose 2 people.
And there's a lesson he wants you to learn.
Correct. Because what Jared just told you is true. She's going to follow you regardless. Like, women are the more deceptive of the 2. Like, You can be upset about it all you want. It's in Scripture. And it's the case. Yep. So she's going to follow you regardless. So God is seeing you not follow him and not look to him for answers, not look for him to fill you with abundance of love because you don't know how to love yourself and you haven't figured out how to receive that from God. You're trying to draw it from somebody that's supposed to be filled by your abundance and love that you've received from God. So instead, you're making this about her and she's following you in that, and you're both going to turn away and going down a path and in the desert away from God. So he knows, if I don't mess this up right now and I don't create a cause for pause, I'm going to lose two. I'm going to lose a son and a daughter. So I'd rather, at the end of it, I'll let you be the poor leader you are and lose you because you're not following me anyway, before I let you take her down a path and you both are gone from me. And that's a revelation that if guys get it, they'll look in the mirror and they'll find a way to save everything they've got by handing it over to God and learning to lead and not expect her to freaking follow right away. You have to go lead, and she's got to watch you go chop down trees and clear a path, and then maybe she'll pave right behind you, right? The second thing, which is where we let society really F us up, is it's covenant, not contract. And we look at everything as the contract of marriage. You're going to bring this and I'm going to bring that. But if you don't bring this, I don't have to give you that. And I am justified to break this contract because of the deliverables of what I was supposed to receive. And it's 100% correct. It's relational. It's covenant, right? And there are people that will get to that point of, all right, it's covenant. Understood. I've gotten to that point. But if you truly get to that point, here's what you have to realize that's not fun to realize. Covenant doesn't make you happy. It makes you holy. Covenant isn't meant to make a happy marriage. It's meant to make a holy marriage. There's a lot of things that will come through in that. But if you're truly following covenant, get ready for all the spiritual warfare, because the enemy's going to come against that as much as he can. He likes, you can go get married and say you're a Christian and do all the things and, have your engagement for 2 years and cohabitate and have sex and all the things. He's good with that. He'll find ways to bless you because the devil can bless you too. And I've seen it happen because I've walked through it. Or you can choose to do it the right way to where the enemy doesn't have an ability to attack because God is protecting you because you're living it his way and you're leading it his way. But you have to do that in full covenant, and you have to do that fully with love as is defined in Scripture, in patience and in kindness and no records of wrong and all the things, not just how I feel today.
I think we talked about unlearning, our framework, unlearn, unlock, unleash. We talked about unlearning how marriage is not supposed to be and how it's supposed to be just this perfect thing that fixes you, right? So I think we're headed already into the unlock portion of this. When you talked about covenant versus contract, that's an unlocking right there. Mm-hmm. Can you just give us a little bit more about the unlock portion of this episode and what we're supposed to take away from the things that we're unlearning?
Yeah, the biggest unlock for myself, and that I've seen in guys that get it, is the unlock of the cap by finding out how to receive God's love.
Because it all goes back to that.
Correct.
That's where it all
stems there. Our identity, all our things, like guys get through divorce and you meet them 5, 10, 15 years later and you're in a small group and it's like, hey, I'm John, I'm divorced. No, you're John, you went through a season of divorce. It's something that happened to you. It's not who you are, but you identify with it because you failed and because you got everything that you had out of, being a husband and a father. That's the first thing that I ask in those seasons is like, okay, well, who are you, John? Well, I don't know, because I was a husband and I was a father. Like, no, you didn't know who you were. You avoided the conversation and relationship with God because you didn't know how to receive his love. Therefore, you were already void of the love you needed to be able to pour and overflow into your family and not have to. You went and created a family so that you could be drawing love from them, and that was futile from the start.
And that goes back to what you were saying about you not leading, but needing your wife.
Correct.
You need your kids. You need that affirmation from them. We've lost the mission. Now you're just this lost little puppy, like you said, and that will just take you around the mountain over and over and over, and it'll go for years until eventually it crumbles.
Yeah, and if you don't receive that, if you don't know how to receive your validation and your love from God, then you end up trying to extract it, and you end up expecting your wife to manage the validation of the needs and problems that you haven't been able to heal yourself.
I feel like you have a lot to say in regards to this. I have a question. You talked about weight distribution earlier in this episode. A few episodes prior to this, we talked about weight distribution. Men were built with wider gait so that we can hold more weight. That same weight that's on us is never meant to be on our wife or our kids. You are Mr. Galdi. Please give us your wisdom on that topic right there, because I think a lot of men give the same weight to their wife and kids that was only meant for them, and that's what cracks some of their relationships and their marriages.
I totally agree with I love that analogy, and to like bring that full circle, like Travis was asking me in that episode, how much weight can you hold above your head, and then what would it look like if you handed that to your wife? What would it look like if you handed it to your kids? So to bring that full circle on this marriage topic, I think that that's truly powerful. And I would say, what Travis just said is the ultimate unlock and the ultimate unleash, is that when you follow God, then your greater mission comes about, right? So like seeking after God is where my wife started to follow me. And then when I found my mission in the earth, when I know what my companies are created for, when I say with conviction to her that my life is to relentlessly chase the next bed for the person in recovery who needs it, and I'm going to create companies, leaders, and products that make that next bed come faster, be more profitable for the kingdom of God, while we raise these kids to step up into that legacy, into that mission. When I say that, you can see the light in her eyes, right? But that came from me submitting to God and submitting to other men first, to where then I know this big mission that I'm why I'm alive. It came from me leading myself. It came from me leading the next person. But think about this in regards to that weight you just said. I definitely am a fiery person. Always have been. Passionate. I'm emotion first, and I had to really, really learn in following God that I'm supposed to lead my emotion. That's what it looked like for me to have a transformed heart, was for me to now lead my emotions so that I have an opportunity to lead myself, so that I have an opportunity to lead my wife, and then my kids, and then teams, and then companies, and all of those things. So one thing that it overcame this for me is the word of God. And Romans 10:17 says faith comes by hearing, and hearing comes from the word of God. And so many people that are like, well, how do I receive God's love? Because I can't hear his voice. And I want most men to know that most of us who are chasing after God like crazy don't just hear this sky daddy talking to us in our ear all the time, voice, right? We don't hear this audible voice. Some people do, because God is God. He created everything, and he can talk to people. But I hear God through his word. And so when I couldn't overcome this anger, this frustration that I had because I didn't know how to lead, one time my wife just straight up told me, she's like, every time you raise your voice, I'm scared of you. And that rocked me in that season, because I never want my wife to be scared of me. I want her to know that she doesn't have to be scared of freaking anything because of me. Wow, that's good. And I want her to know that she has a rock that she can lean on and never be scared of me. So the scripture that hit me is James 1:19. And that's one where I don't have to look it up because it's in my spirit, right? And James 1:19 says you need to be quick to listen. You need to be slow to speak and even slower to anger, for the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness God desires. And righteousness is this big, heavy word that people need to just like dumb it down and say righteousness is just doing things God's way. It's just doing the right thing. Standing with God. It's just doing the right thing that God created you to do. And I think about that. It says the wrath of man doesn't produce the righteousness God desires. So I pictured like this. This is gonna date me. Pauly Shore in the biodome, right? Like I'm in this biodome, and I've created this little environment, this little dome where God, you can't get in here because I am going to have the wrath. I'm going to have the way. I'm going to raise my voice to be heard in this castle, right? And that's what it was about. Sometimes I used to say that. I was like, no, I'm not mad. I'm just making sure you hear me. And like really think about that, And so it hit me that every single time I'm raising my voice, every single time my wrath comes out, I'm saying, God, you can't have your way with me. You can't have your way with this woman. You can't have your way with this marriage. And once I just really, really took responsibility for that to become this safe space. And I think Travis is actually an expert at this because he's got this, speak softly, carry a big stick thing going on in his world. But I had to learn that, where I'm like, okay, no matter what, even when I feel that, like, we all know it. Those of us have dealt with anger, we know what it feels like. It's at the top of our stomach. You feel it coming, then it's at the back of your neck, then it's in your head, then all of a sudden you're just like, bah! And when I feel that coming is the moment I lean into the Holy Spirit now and be like, God, take that from me. How am I supposed to lead here? What I do know is that if I can't come up with the words and I feel like I'm going to yell, I'm just going to shut up because I want you to have your way. I'm done with the biodome. I'm done blocking you out. And that shifted everything in my marriage. That was the unlock, creating, like Pastor Keith says that a woman's greatest need is security, which we've talked about a bunch, and a man's greatest need is respect. And here's that paradox, is that you're never going to get the respect you want until you create that security. And that security comes everywhere. That security is emotionally, financially, sexually. Like, it's full circle, spiritually, every bit of security that you could see. We talk, faith, family, fitness, finance, right? She's got to feel comfortable in her own skin. She's got to feel comfortable spiritually. She's got to feel all those things before you can even scratch the surface of respect. And there's so many men that are still in this unlearning that they feel like they're supposed to get the respect first before they create it. And so I think that would be my long-winded answer there, is that you've got to figure out and sell out and figure out how to invite God into everything that you do so that he can give her that security through you and your leadership.
I think what you said really was just so eye-opening. You said, I never want my wife to be afraid of me, but I want her to be basically unafraid of anything around us because of me, right? I don't want her to be afraid of anything because of me. And that's just such a, man, again, another moment. Man, we're going to have a lot of good shorts and good clips from this one, I'll tell you what right now. But I think a lot of men yell and a lot of men get angry because they want to show who they are. It's that whole, I am the gorilla, fear me. And I think if we could just learn, I never want my wife to be afraid of me. I never want my kids to be afraid of me. Yet I still want to lead them, and I want to be worthy of being the leader in my family. But I want them to feel so secure with me that they're afraid of nothing because of me. Yeah.
You have to be willing to ask questions and be vulnerable to figure that out too.
That takes a lot.
I remember being in an argument in a relationship. It wasn't even really an argument. It was a moment where I'm trying to speak and she shut down, right? And I'd felt enough to this point to know better, to be like, before I get offended and I just create a reaction here, let me ask, like, okay, I see you're shut down right now. What's going on, right? And it was, and her response was, I don't do well with raised voices and anger. I just shut down. That's just what I know about myself. And at that moment, BC Travis would be like, you think this is angry? You think I'm raising my voice? I'll show you what raising my voice is. But I'd grown since then, and I asked, I'm like, okay, on a scale 1 to 10, scale 1 to 10, what level of tone am I at right now? And she's like, a 12. I was like, wow. I hear myself as a 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
but it was an opportunity to get on the same page of realizing, like, I came from an abusive alcoholic home, Marine, SWAT, and tonality. Like, you got to be here.
Yeah.
And she grew up in a home where she never heard her dad raise his voice at all. No,
so it's a 10 to her.
Yeah, and I told him, like,
wow.
Your mom heard it, I promise you. But hey, he did good about making sure his daughters didn't hear it. But now I know why the delta is so different. I can approach this different. And we never had problems there moving forward in that category. But I like analogies and formulas, right? So I just want to throw this out in reference to Unlocking the Leash, because guys, we understand the simple things. We understand you'll know them by their fruit. We understand, you reap what you sow. We understand planting seeds. So, for example, every guy you ever talk to that's a husband or father, you ask them, like, what is one of the best joys ever, and being a father, right? You have guys all the time talking about just being around my kids and whatnot. There's so much fruit and reward that comes with that. And if you ask them, what was your role that you played in that? They're like, we wouldn't have a kid if I didn't plant the seed, right? Absolutely. Guys will stand on that, whether it's in divorce and talking about custody or it's in whatever. They know the part that they played. And the challenge is, consider that is your part with everything that has fruit in your marriage, everything. And the formula to that is to understand that the fruit of being a father and having the children and the family that is worth living for starts with the seed that is planted and the time for that incubation, right? So the formula, just to leave with this in statistics, is the average fun time of climax and conception is 7 to 9 minutes. Okay, 7 to 9 minutes of fun to plant the seed that takes 394,200 minutes to actually produce the child, right? That's 60,000 to 1. So if a man can get in this episode, if you get nothing else, get that if you want fruit in your relationship and your marriage that carries on for generations, that is enjoyable, that you get to reap for 18 plus years, know that you're probably going to have 7 to 9 minutes of fun planting a seed that's going to take your wife 60,000 times that in her process to understand what you already planted in her to yield the fruit that you both get to benefit in your marriage.
Bro.
That's the unleash right there.
Unleash. I think that there's two things real fast while we get to wrapping this up. One is, like I said,
I think this is going to be 2-3 part series.
Oh, we're going to talk about marriage consistently. It's one of the hardest things, right? Everything in leadership is the mirror of marriage. So I said methods are many, principles are few. Methods change, principles never do. And that is in my being. And what Travis just said is that the law, the principle, the law of sowing and reaping is so real. And when you start to understand that things come in seed form, so many men are praying for this miracle to come and they miss that their miracle comes in seed form. And that seed is meant to be sown. And that seed takes the wife or somebody else, I've never heard that, and I love that, can take 60,000 times the energy it takes to seed that or to sow that seed to come to fruition. But so many men miss that their job is just sowing the seed. That's so freaking powerful. And it hits me like in this knowing that, we're like an hour into talking about this. It hits me that there might be so many things in this episode that triggered dudes who suck at leadership. I want you to know that if like something's burning in you, if you got pissed off somewhere along this way, but you stuck it out till now, till the end of this thing, that there's so much hope for you, bro. You can find peace in your marriage. You can find peace in your leadership. It is there for you. But if you got triggered by this, you need to dial in on, you probably need to listen to this episode and Travis talk 2-3 times. And because if something triggered you, something else is going to trigger you, and get back to some of the principles. Start pulling these principles out of this stuff, because there's so much gold in this episode. I know it. And there's if you're dealing with it, there's other men around you, other men in your church that are ready for you to share this with them. So do it.
100%. I'll close with this, and I'll let you close us out if you have any final words. Once you stop blaming and start owning, you step into a different level of manhood. More grounded, more intentional, more dangerous in all the right ways. I want to say, guys, you guys have inspired me to be a better man, a better husband, and a better father in the short year that I've known you. I am pursuing God more now than I ever have in my entire life, and a lot of it is because of you guys. So I appreciate you guys, all your wisdom, and I look forward to many, many more episodes talking about this stuff, because, man, I'm learning a lot. I'm 21 years into marriage. I feel like I'm just starting to figure it all out. No. So I appreciate you guys. If you were triggered, if you were gut punched, if you were throat punched, you deserve to subscribe to this Podcast. Follow us on socials and all the things. And last bit of closing.
I'll just point it back to God, because the conversation on the seeding and 60,000 to 1. We all know that child incubation and that whole process is just supernatural in all the ways. That is a godly thing, and it can feel daunting to hear that and be like 60,000 to 1. So any seed that I plant in my marriage is going to take that much longer. Yes, but God. So if you're pointing back to Him and you're going to Him for the answers in that process, you're going to Him for the love that you can cast out and in your leadership to your family, He can make that 60,000 to 1 be 10 to 1. He can also make it, you can also make it 500,000 to 1. It's completely up to you and your obedience as you follow and lead what He gives you to carry out.
I got a word when I was very young. What it takes man 5, 10, 15 years to do on his own, God can do it in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Amen.
But God, so appreciate you all. Make sure you stick around for the next episode. Come on.
There we go.
We're out of here.